This video is sponsored by Ridge. Ridge is mostly known for their wallets, like this carbon fiber one, but they sell other products as well, like this weatherproof commuter backpack. With a built-in power bank pocket and USB port, this backpack is perfect to take on the go with its AquaGuard zippers, hidden RFID blocking pocket, and shock-resistant laptop holder. Go to ridge.com/anus and use code ANUS to get 10% off your order with free shipping and returns. Link is in the description. Hey everyone, my name's Tomato Anus, also known as the Airbud of speedrunning, and this is an any percent speedrun of The Outer Worlds. The goal of this run is to start a new game and to reach the end credits as fast as possible by any means necessary. If you'd prefer to watch this run without my annoying voice, there's a link in the description to a version of this run without my commentary. When we create our character, we max out dexterity, perception, and temperament for the bonuses we get for dodge, sneak, lockpick, and lie that those skills give us. We then tag stealth and dialogue for our skills, which increases our sneak to 40, allowing us to pickpocket NPCs, and also increases lie to 25, which is closer to our end goal of having 40 in lie. Tagging stealth also gets our lockpick to 40, which allows for us to pick locks without mag picks, and also increases the speed at which we pick locks, which comes in handy later. Aptitude doesn't really matter all that much, so we take the one that increases our medical skill by 1. Once we finish creating our character and skip the first 2 cutscenes, we hit a loading screen, after which the run officially begins. We immediately skip through Phineas's dialogue and land on both Terra 2 and Captain Hawthorne. Our immediate goal is to make it to the Unreliable, which was the ship of the now deceased Captain Hawthorne. We're gonna run pretty much straight to it, utilizing little speed tech along the way like double tapping space to dash out of our crouched position when we're waddling beneath rocks and other stuff. You're going to notice that we run past the enemies in this intro area and don't fight them. This is pretty standard for the run as a whole, as combat is largely avoidable and we're only going to be firing 3 shots the whole run. Spoiler alert, for the general story of The Outer Worlds, close your ears until the Shiba Inu on your screen goes away if you don't want to hear. Our character was a passenger on the Hope, a ship sent from Earth to colonize Halcyon, which is a star system on the fringe of known space. The Hope contained hundreds of thousands of colonists who are referred to in-game as geniuses, scientists, and engineers. Long story short, the Hope arrived 25 years late, and the people running Halcyon hid the fact that it ever arrived due to potential public outrage. A scientist named Phineas Wells began experiments to revive the colonists who were placed in long-term hibernation and was branded a criminal by Halcyon's board. Phineas rescued us so we could help him liberate the other colonists. When you play through the game casually, you can either side with Phineas to attempt to revive the colonists, or side with the Halcyon Holdings corporate board to put the workers in the system into hibernation, freeing up resources for the elites in Halcyon. There's a hidden third ending that is unlocked by having low intelligence, which is actually the fastest way to finish the game and will be exactly what we do for this run. With that history lesson over, we arrive at the Unreliable and meet Ada, the AI on board who identifies us as Captain Hawthorne so that she's able to take orders from us. After the Turing test, we pull up our character screen to take the Cheetah perk, which increases our sprint speed by 20%. We then fast traveled to back outside the ship and began running across the Emerald Vale. Ada informed us that the Unreliable's power regulator has been damaged and is in need of a new one. The reason our character was on the Hope wasn't because we were a genius or a scientist or an engineer or any of that. It's solely for our incredible gift of foresight. We know that in order to get a power regulator for the Unreliable, we'll need to salvage it from the transformer of either Edgewater, which is the main settlement in the Emerald Vale region, or from the Botanical Labs, which is a settlement comprised of deserters from Edgewater who grew tired of working conditions. This is why we run straight towards the geothermal plant to discover the fast travel location for it before turning around and running to Edgewater. It's thanks to our foresight that we know that if we're going to salvage a power regulator from one of these 2 places, we need to first divert the power away from the location that we'll salvage from. And we know that the only way to divert power away from a location is to go to the geothermal power plant and manually divert it. We can't go straight to the geothermal plant though, because in order to divert power, we need to have a passcode for the plant. That's why we instead have to go to Edgewater before going to the geothermal plant proper. In Edgewater, we enter the Saltuna Cannery and ride the elevator up, being sure to appreciate the elevator music along the way. When our ride ends, we breeze through the conversation with Reed Thompson and internet darling Parvati Holcomb. Unfortunately, we're leaving Parvati behind because we're only here to get the passcode from Reed, after which we fast travel away to the geothermal plant itself. When we load in, we fire the final 2 bullets of the entire run to blow up a barrel to manipulate some enemy AI and then leap over a fence to enter the geothermal plant. Inside the plant, we're going to pick up a tube of Stimulotion and then use Reed's passcode to unlock the door to the rest of the plant. We then run through the passageways, flipping all 3 switches required to divert the power. While we do this, there's a small bit of luck involved with whether or not some robots will block your path, but most of the time you can quickly run around them. The only time it can really be an issue is right after flipping the final switch, due to how narrow the walkway is. Also, we want to keep moving while we flip all the switches. If you're fluid with how you move your camera and how you strafe, you can flip the switches without ever coming to a complete stop, saving fractions of a second since we don't have to build up speed again. Once we flip the upcoming final switch, we're going to run to exit the building before we divert the power, being sure to crouch as we access the door. This is because we're technically in combat right now and you're not able to access terminals in the outer worlds while you're in combat. By crouching as we exit the building and then immediately re-entering, it should de-aggro the enemies that were chasing us in the plant, allowing us to divert the power. We still have to run to the terminal where we divert the power though, which requires us to run right past a robot that has its back to us. We have to jump as we pass the robot and access the door to the next hallway. If we were to just run right by it, then it would hear our footsteps, turn around, and see us. Jumping makes it so that the robot hears us just as we leave the room, not giving it enough time to turn around and see us and have us enter combat again. It's thanks to this that we're able to access the terminal and divert the power away from the botanical labs exactly as Reed requested. Outside, we have to run a short distance to the left before we fast travel, otherwise our fast travel would be blocked by a nearby enemy. Once we load into Edgewater, we immediately pull up our character screen and level up our dialogue by 15. After that, we pull up our inventory, drop the Stimulotion that we picked up earlier, exit our inventory, and quick save quick load. Once the game loads, we pick up the Stimulotion and quick save quick load again. When the game loads again, you'll realize that the Stimulotion is still on the ground. This is a duplication glitch that we utilize to get a total of 18 Stimulotion. For some reason, this glitch doesn't work in every location in the game, like it doesn't seem to work in the geothermal plant, so we have to do it in Edgewater. To get to 18 Stimulations, we dupe 6 individual tubes, then drop the stack of 6 and dupe that 3 additional times. We follow this up by taking all of the Stimulotion at once. Rather than the effect of Stimulotion stacking, the duration of the effect stacks, so rather than having a 20-second effect, it will be a 360-second effect. By the way, the effect of Stimulotion is that it increases our movement speed by 20%, which obviously is very good for a speedrun. After rubbing lotion all over our body, we head on over to the Saltuna Cannery to tell Reed all about how we diverted power from the botanical gardens, only to realize that we've made a grave mistake and fat-fingered the wrong button, directing power away from Edgewater. Reed asked us why we did it, and rather than tell him the truth about our error, we intimidated the ever-loving shit out of him and proceeded to take the power regulator for ourselves and return to the Unreliable. Here we head on over to the ship's transformer and insert the power regulator, and then jump off the upper level to return to Ada. Normally when you fall from such a height, you're slowed momentarily as you take fall damage, but because we're absolutely lathered in lotion, our joints take the drop like a champ and we aren't really slowed down at all. With the ship powered, we breeze through a brief chit-chat with Phineas, who tells us about his grand plan and what we should do next. We're going to semi-follow his instructions by heading to the Groundbreaker, which is an orbital station in Halcyon and the only place in the entire system not under the control of the Halcyon Holdings corporate board or any other corporation. Upon arrival, we have to get through customs, which is as easy as just saying hello to Corporal Leonard Wheeler. Our overall goal right now is to get to Byzantium, because once we're there, we can get fuel in order to skip the Hope to its destination. In order to land in Byzantium though, we need to get a nav key, which Udom Bedford can give us in the Groundbreaker. Firstly though, we steal an item from a safe in a room full of people by hiding in a blind spot in the corner, allowing us to go undetected. This item is the official seal of Halcyon Holdings Board. But I digress, we need to get the nav key from Udom Bedford, but in order to get it from him, we need to get an item for him in return. That item happens to be the official seal of Halcyon Holdings Board. If that sounds familiar, that's because I literally just said it 15 seconds ago. With the seal in hand, we spoke with Udom, who is voiced by the same guy who voices Knight Reese in Fallout 4 and also voices Wolf in the English audio of Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. After talking with Udom and letting him know that we have his seal and that all is good, he handed over the nav key and we fast traveled back to the Unreliable, where we then captained the ship to Byzantium, landing at Adjutant Akande's landing pad. Normally when you arrive in Byzantium, you begin a series of quests which eventually leads up to you getting access to the Ministry of Accuracy and Morale. Instead, we're just going to implement the biggest and really only sequence break in the speedrun. We attempt to pickpocket this Percival dude, who will then chase us and come within range of a locked door that will automatically open, demonstrating the horrors of face scanning technology that's invading our lives today. This door is normally locked with no way to open it other than doing a lot of quests. With access to the chairman's office, we're able to access his terminal to print ourselves a key to the ministry, skip a cutscene, and then fast travel back to the Unreliable. The only reason why we returned to the Unreliable was to grab the holographic shroud, because we're going to be needing it in a second. We then returned to the HHC building and got in another damn elevator to go to the main floor. Once it's through, we're going to sprint to the exit and hurtle over the receptionist desk to go outside. There we'll run past a mech gardener and use our new key to enter the ministry. In the ministry, we're going to be calling yet another elevator, but this one will have a delay before it opens because the last person to use it went down, so we'll have to wait for it to arrive at our floor. While we wait, we're going to keep spamming inhalers to keep healing ourselves as we get shot at, as well as lockpick a door to be able to grab the UDL identity cartridge from a locker. This cartridge is what we'll passively use in the shroud that we grabbed from the Unreliable, which allows for us to pass by enemies in heavily guarded areas in a disguise so they won't attack us. When we begin the elevator ride down, we spam quick save, and as soon as the pop-up appears indicating that we've saved, we then quick load. This is because one of the guards above us will somehow still talk to us despite us going down several floors in the elevator, but quick saving and quick loading breaks his ever-seeing gaze. When we finally arrive in the lab, we follow the yellow line on the floor, which will bring us to the main research room where the fuel that we'll use for the Hope is located. The fuel in question is dimethyl sulfoxide, which you'll get really comfortable with in real life if you ever synthesize polymers in a lab. The only issue is that by taking the DMSO, we're taking a handful of scientists off of what is essentially life support. But hey, the ends justify the means. After we yoink the DMSO, we head to the exit which, surprise surprise, is another fucking elevator. When we finally make it back outside, we're going to immediately fast travel back to the Unreliable, where we'll have a brief dialogue with Ada and Adjutant Akande. Fun fact, the voice of Udom isn't the only voice actor in this game who worked on Fallout 4. The voice of Ada is actually the same person who voiced Nora. After our powwow finishes up, we then head on over to Phineas's lab. At Phineas's lab, we don't have much to do other than talk with the man himself. When we skip through his lines, we're going to eventually hit one line that for some reason is unskippable. While we wait for the line to finish, we're going to position our mouse cursor in a spot that lines up with fast traveling back to the Unreliable once we finish up the dialogue, so we just have to click rather than move our mouse around. This is a tactic that we've used all throughout the run. After the dialogue finishes up and we fast travel back to the ship, we can't help but feel a little dejected that we didn't get to see Ferb hanging out at the lab. At the Unreliable, we navigate on over to the Hope and have one final conversation with our spouse/lawyer before heading out into the final area of the speedrun. The first thing we'll do upon exiting the Unreliable is reroute the power from the Unreliable to the Hope's auxiliary power supply, which repowers the Hope's skip drive. Also, while we do this, we look down while running because the game tends to hitch a bit right upon exiting the Unreliable, which slows down your running. With the skip drive powered, we then have to head over to the communication room where we're going to patch Nora through so that she's able to communicate with the Hope central computer. Also in the communication room, we have to pick up the Hope Bridge keycard before we can progress to the final moments of the speedrun. We then can ride the final godforsaken elevator in the run. Normally at this point in the game, you can choose to either skip the Hope to Tartarus inside with the board or skip it to Terra 2 inside with Phineas. As I mentioned at the beginning of the run, we gave our character below average intelligence, which unlocks some new dialogue choices. One of these choices is to skip the Hope manually, foregoing the ship's central computer, which would normally perform all of the calculations and commands. By choosing this dialogue option, we get the secret ending of the game where we skip the hope into the sun. The run officially ends as soon as we finish the dialogue and the final cutscene begins. If you made it to the end of this video, I truly can't thank you enough for your time and support. I also want to give a quick shout out to Shiro, who is the current record holder for this run, for reviewing the script and making sure I didn't say anything incorrect. Shiro's also going to be running this game at the upcoming AGDQ, so be sure to check him out there. I'd also like to specifically say thank you to those of you who have decided to support the channel on Patreon. It's completely not necessary, but you guys choose to do it regardless, and your generosity is both perplexing and truly appreciated. If any of you, patron or not, have any feedback on this video or recommendations for videos to make in the future, feel free to join my Discord server. There's a link in the description, and we have text channels for both video discussion and suggestions, so please join and let me know what you have to say. That's all for this video though. This was an any% speedrun of The Outer Worlds. I've been Tomatoiness, and I hope you have an above average day.